Hey, welcome again to our podcast. I wanted to talk about fears that buyers are carrying right now when it comes to the housing market. We're seeing deals that are just falling apart. Also, some trepidation in just going out there and get and going out there and finding a house because they're wondering, is this really the right time to buy? So, in doing our research, we found the top 5 questions that or fears that the buyers are asking are worried about. Is this really the right time? And one fear number one is really now the right time to buy. The economy seems shaky, world events seem shaky, is now really the right time. So really 1 in 3 of buyers are concerned about this right now. And the answer really is when will things not really be shaky? So if you're waiting for certainty, what does that certainty really mean? And we're seeing a lot of folks that really, even from 2022, we've had a really interesting roller coaster of world events and interest rates and life. So is this really a something that should hold you back? So what we find in the market is the market just is. It's not good or bad, it just is. And really, what can we do to overcome that? And what's most important with that is data. So let's talk about that. So some of the things that will help is I have to live somewhere. So what is the cost from buying and renting? Because everything is going to go up from rent, property taxes, insurance. Things will always continue to go up. But where will you have the most security, even in these kind of choppy, unsecure times? And really, home ownership can give you that. We can look at that cost of waiting worksheet, rent versus buy worksheet as well for the affordability that can help you here. Local housing data, that's huge. Where do you want to buy? What's going on in the market? What will those payments be? So really, let's sit down and talk about really the gain, those fears, and what is it you could gain if we overcome fear number one. What is fear number two? Right now, the fear is if we buy now, rates are going to drop. Rates are too high and they're going to drop, so we should really wait. And we've been waiting and hoping for a rate drop even deeper for now a couple years. Now, some would we have that old taste of the 3%, and the 3% is just not going to happen anymore. Everyone said this 3% will not happen in anyone's lifetime. And what if rates do drop? Then that's of course great because there is those opportunities to refinance. There's a lot of folks now that still have bought a couple years ago when the rates were where they are, and some now are able to refinance for even lower rates. So do we see rates getting better in the future? We totally do. When? We don't know. So the question is what does the affordability look like for you today so you can get in the game, have something to trade, start really building the wealth within your house and real estate. There's really a lot of options from the rate buy downs. Right now, we're seeing it flip to a buyer's market. And with that being the case, we sometimes can get the closing costs. We can get it where we can buy down the rate. Even in a volatile environment, I had a client, they got a 5.5%. So really, there are decent rates that can be out there. It's just really how do you structure the deal? So don't necessarily get hung up so much on the actual interest rate, because what really is the difference between 6% and 6 1/8? How does that really change your payment? Sometimes yes, it would be a little bit of a cheaper payment, but oh, are you in an area that has higher property taxes? So that actually can make your payment higher than where you were before. So really understanding, not getting caught up in the number of the interest rate, but what does the payment look like for the house you're looking to buy and the neighborhood you're going to buy, and really knowing what that number is. That's the being comfortable with affordability. Now, number 3 This is here 30% of people are worried, of course, what if I lose my job after I buy? Now, the wonderful thing about home ownership is that doesn't mean you get a notice on your door at the beginning of the month that says you've got a 3 day notice to pay your house payment or get out. So, of course, job security is again is huge. And the beauty is that, hey, a bank will always work with you if there are struggles in making your payment. Where in renting, we usually see that 3 day notice to pay rent or vacate. There really is not much wiggle room if there is that loss of job. Sometimes we're seeing mortgages, and these companies are doing what's called forbearance, where they're taking whatever missed payments are and they're moving it to the back of the loan and basically getting you re-caught up when you get your job back. So with home ownership, there's a lot more flexibility. The banks want to work with you, the mortgage companies work with you to really make sure you get to stay in your house. And what I've seen with a lot of those when they rent, if you don't pay the rent, they want you out right away. So that is really a little more security in home ownership and also rent control. You know what your payment's going to be. You know there'll be a little bit of increase with property taxes and insurance, but of course with rentals, you know for sure there'll always be a large increase. So home ownership really is a kind of gives even more security because hey, the house is yours. So all of a sudden they won't just decide they're going to sell and you have to move in 60 days. So a lot of security. There'd be more fear in renting right now than it is in buying right now. So let's now look at number 4. The one of the fears is that prices are still too high. I can't afford what I want. Now, that of course is a true fear. We want the prices and the housing prices to go down. And we're not really going here locally, we're not really seeing that. We're seeing stabilize. Now, what we're used to a huge trajectory from years ago. We saw 18 to 23% values, and everyone's hair was on fire. You couldn't get a house. Now we're seeing somewhere in between 3.4 to 3.7 in the appreciation of house values. And so just again, good and steady. So what that still means is there now are good deals to be had. So when you do purchase, you definitely want to look at longevity. Hey, I'm going to buy, I'm going to be in there for a few years. And that then will help you make sure if you do something does come up, you decide to make a move, you want to upgrade your house, hey, you can build some equity because some years have passed. So right now we're seeing a 3.4, 3.7 in appreciation. But the question is, what about today? I can't afford what I want. So really I appreciated Barbara Corcoran. She made the comment of, hey, just get something to trade. And many times if we come out of mom and dad's house, again, when you talk to them, they had a converted chicken coop that they first lived in and slowly built to what they have today. And so we see some when they come out of mom and dad's house, boy, they want that immediately. And that isn't always the case. So what really is a good starter home, or maybe a different location that might give you some affordability? So options are important. What's going on in the market? Having someone local that says, hey, you know what? This area we can afford and money can go a little farther. Where over here, this particular county, it might be just a little bit more expensive. So sometimes there definitely can be that give and take. You can't afford to buy what you want. But if you can get to close, sometimes you can create the things that maybe the house is missing, because you can always change the house. You can't change the location. So what I find is if we get a lot of the check boxes marked off, hey, you then can change it to help you with create the other check boxes that the house might be missing. But as Barbara said, hey, you now have something to trade. So as you then sell and buy again, you then can slowly upgrade. But you've got something to trade when you are there to make your next move. So I really appreciated her saying just you really get in the game owning real estate so you can start building some equity, help your money go a lot farther. Okay, what about number 5? This is something we're finding not really too many people are talking about. Now, what we're saying is 59% of people are saying that AI is going to make home ownership even harder. Now, I thought that was interesting, and I want to read this to you. It says here in the data, it was actually surprising. It says nearly 6 in 10 Americans are worried AI will cost them their job. It's something that do we really need to worry about? So really, real estate is one of the most recession and automated resistant assets that there are. And I think what's AI going to do? I think if you really start and talk to AI about what it is and the importance of home ownership, it'll tell you really a lot of the positive things about it. But if, again, renting versus owning, you're really in the same issue when it comes to job growth. Even in renting, costs go up every year. So needing to know about AI, use AI, especially how can you use AI to help you be more effective in your job, definitely an important factor. So again, it goes back to, though, if you lose your job, all right, what is it that happens to the house? So we talked about that from the other fear. We know, hey, AI, there's a lot of fear, different fears of AI taking over the world, as we see in those movies. But it's interesting of AI and job performance, how do those go hand in hand? And I think many have talked about it won't replace all the jobs. The importance, though, is how can a person use AI in the job that they have to be more effective in their current position. That definitely is an important skill to learn and to enhance in your own personal development and your own personal growth. So hopefully this has been a little bit of a help as we really sit down and talk about, hey, what are the fears? But then what's the truth? Because sometimes we will create fears that don't exist. We create scenarios that will never happen. It's good to think about what could happen, have a game plan, have some preparation for it. But in a lot of cases, some of the stuff may never happen at all. So really the power of home ownership, the down payment assistance programs that are out there, they're really of, hey, the news can get, again, sensationalism overload to us, and really to get down and say what is really the true data and what is important to you as a family, as a buyer, and how can you really get the best deal? Because that's one of the biggest fears we have of people is the fear of missing out. And I know there's a lot of people now that talked about buying in 18 and 19 and just kind of waiting and working through. And there's even people that bought in 2021. We see a nice little lift from 2021, waiting. And here we are today. A lot of them wish that they had bought last year. So next year, maybe we don't want to feel the same. So let's just look at the data. Hey, if you have a good real estate broker, if you have a good mortgage lender, they'll sit down and go, hey, here's what's right for you. Here's what's out there in the market. And so you can make an informed decision. And so if you have great information from people you trust, then you still can make this decision and know it's a good decision and not be afraid. So again, this is Steve McNamer. Thank you for listening today. I look forward to even more helpful podcasts for buyers and for sellers, things that people are thinking about. We want to make sure that we're here to give you all the information we can so you can be a good consumer and have the opportunity to make that great choice of buying your home.